Taylor, you know me. I'm here to introduce Lisa Bear, which I think is kind of funny because you all know Lisa Bear longer than you've known me. But Lisa Bear was our 2009 poster artist.
Yay!
She's the owner and operator of the Stell Star Gallery downtown. She's also a member of the rambunctious Rockport 9, aren't you?
Used to be.
Used to be. Well, she does a lot of stuff. She actually, if you look around the room, any good choices of hanging of the pieces were done by Lisa, and I just drove the nails. So she is our stand-in for John, and she's going to get started with Billy and Rita, and it's just going to be a bunch of fun, relaxed conversation with two very good artists. Take it away, Lisa.
Thank you, Taylor. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
It's close. I don't usually use one of these things. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm in awe of both these artists.
Yes.
I've just recently met Rita, but and really Billy too. But I've seen Billy's work for years and years, and maybe not years and years, but he used to show his work at the Austin Street Gallery, where Shirley and Clint had their gallery, and I would come in there and think, oh my God, I just love this guy's work. So I'm happy to be here with both these artists. And Rita is an amazing artist who just works like a maniac. And so they've created this wonderful show. So John has asked me, and I feel like I need to put these things down for Rita. Excuse me. I might just stand up and use my chair for extra stuff. I have some questions that John sent me to ask Rita and Billy, but you know what? I've been thinking about this for a while, and I know that we're made up of lots of artists, mostly artists. We're an art center, and patrons, and so I thought, what do people really want to know about this show? And Linda, Billy's wife, who has put together, along with John, a wonderful little what do we call this? Catalog for Billy's work, says to me, I hope they get it. I hope they get Billy's work. And so I'm just going to dive in here with these questions that I think you'll be interested in, and then I'll give it up to you guys, and you can ask questions, okay? So Rita, I'll start with Rita. Rita, you've been using pastel since you were 11 years old, but can you kind of tell people what exactly the type of pastel, the papers you use, why you use the framing you do, and what you're trying to express with this particular show, Beauty of the Beast.
Well, I kind of,
sorry. It takes a village.
I kind of got into painting animals, primarily ranch animals, not through any sort of deep meaning sort of thing, but because the first cow painting I ever did, I did two of them. I did them 24 by 24, and the first one was actually done over a failed painting. And I did them for a show at the New Braunfels Art League that was called Texas. And I thought, well, what's Texas? Longhorns. So I did, the first one was longhorns, a mama and her calf. And the other one was just 3 brown cows. They were the same size and they were framed the same. I had one of them in Fredericksburg at a art fair there about a year later. And the second one at that time was in Kerrville at a gallery there. And a guy came and he liked it.
Taking always in pastel.
Pastel,
Okay.
yes. A guy came and bought the longhorns. And I just mentioned that, I have another one it's not longhorns, but it's cows, and it's the same size, and it's over in Kerrville. And he actually went over there that weekend, saw it, and bought it. So, what was my thought after that? I was like, now I have to pay more cows. So, I've been painting cows.
Well, tell us
won't bend or warp. And I just love it because it's super lightweight. You can cut it to whatever size you want, so you're not limited. I mean, it comes in 4 by 8 foot sheets by the manufacturer. So, you know, I've never made a painting that big, but
And it's got a tooth, I can imagine.
no, well, the gator board is smooth, but it's 100% plastic, and the primers that I put on it are pastel primers. The first ones I used were Art Spectrum brand pastel primers, and I used just the terracotta color for a long time. But for the past 2 or 3 years, I've been combining colors in my primers into an underpainting in warm tones. I use a gold color that is the Golden brand fine pumice gel, so it has that grit in it. And I add a golden acrylic color to it and mix it up. I use that along with the terracotta Art Spectrum primer in a toned sort of underpainting, and that's what I put my pastel on.
And that kind of it adds to that luminosity.
I love it. It's you know, before I stumbled on that sort of method, you know, I was using all kinds of papers, I was using all kinds of colors for my, you know, underneath. But this has just really stuck with me, and I love how it works. I love how it shows the light under the colors, and the shadow colors, cooler colors on top of the warm primers just really vibrate in a way that just gets me excited.
Well, tell me about the round frames.
The round ones were an idea I had for about 2 years. It's about 2 years ago, actually. When I start my composing for my paintings in Photoshop on my computer, and I just browse through all of my photos. I have like ungodly amounts of megabytes of photos from years. And I was looking through some cow photos, and I was cropping for, you know, squares or rectangles or whatever, 5 by 7s, 6 by 6s. I do a lot of that. And I came across one. I cropped it into a square, and I thought, that doesn't really work. It doesn't really work as a rectangle either. And when I had it in the square, I thought, this is something that's just not right. And it was a perfect profile of the cow. And there was something about the shape of the nose and the head that reminded me of a Roman coin.
Oh, yeah.
And immediately I thought, round.
Yeah.
And I had never actually cropped anything round in Photoshop before. I've used Photoshop a long time, but I only use it for what I need to do. And there's everything else I have no idea how to use it. So I spent the next hour or so figuring out how to make, you know, crop out a circle over it. And it's not actually the crop tool, it's in something else. So you have to actually cut it out and put it into another file.
Well,
Anyway, it was a circle, and I just loved the way it looked.
yeah.
And I thought, that's different.
Very,
So,
very. And you had your frames made, so you made your frames and you stained them.
yeah, my husband actually found this guy on eBay selling round frames, and he has a website. He's called his name is Mike Crohn's. The website is Crohn's Custom Woodworking.
More information. And you know, there's so much information on the internet about Rita and Billy. So if you want to know more about Rita and Billy, there's something. Also, Rita has 2 books. She's done a volume 1 and volume 2 of miniature portraits. And it's beautiful, beautiful books of her portraits. And they're all actual size portraits, correct?
Yes.
And she just told me she did which one, volume 1, after you had started the painting a day.
The daily painting movement is like
Daily painting, she does a daily
popular,
painting movement. So this is a girl who just doesn't, this doesn't just happen. This is a lot of work and a lot of painting, a lot of daily painting. I want to talk to Billy because I want to ask Billy about what does your pieces, your materials are interesting too, wonderfully interesting. And I know they change with every piece that you have because you don't always have wind pipes, organ pipes, and you don't always have different things that you've used here. But can you tell me what all these materials mean to you in your work, and specifically, what does Sacred Voices, that title of this show, what does that mean?
Well, I'll start with the Sacred Voices title.
Speak into the mic.
Speak into the mic.
Yeah.
Read it.
I hate mics. I keep my eyes open all the time. Rita and I were just talking about seeing, and I don't know how the conversation started, but I think probably the biggest part of doing art is learning to see, or seeing, and having to see. And so I don't look for subject matter, I look for expressive content, and I'm a huge materials guy. I like to work with my hands, so I'm always looking for something to use in art. And that might be a bone or a piece of ivory or, almost anything. And I look for the expressive content trapped in that piece of material that then I'll use in art. I found this cache of organ pipes from a church organ. They were in there's some in the corner. They were in a storage building. The church had sold the brass pipes, the wooden pipes, and the tin pipes the junk man didn't want. But I said, wow, what great junk. Look at these art supplies sitting right here. So I grabbed them up. And that was a few months before John asked me to do this show. And so I was kind of playing with them, and I said, what do these pipes mean? What am I going to do with them? And my first inclination was to build some sort of device that would make wind so that you get wind through them. But I thought, that's really not me, and it's a little too easy, it's too hooky. And then as I worked with them, as I listened to the discarded pipes, I realized that they were pipes that had a sacred calling voice, and that they had been discarded, and that they could speak for all the discarded, all the people, all the animals, all the environment that has been set aside, silenced, and discarded. And I guess I need to say at this point, I don't think of this as recycling or repurposing, and I think that's important. And it's said inside the
This is
catalog.
really good.
And I have to thank the person, she's not here, but there's a lady named Nancy Kemp who wrote that, and she's from the San Antonio area. So they're not recycled or repurposed. They're given new voice. They're given back to their original intent, not an audio voice, but a visual voice. So almost all of my, this one doesn't have a lot of materials other
Hey, and
than the
feel free
pipes,
to
but,
get up if you want to.
okay.
Talk about
I was
any
just looking
specific
around, I
things.
forget what I put in the show. Just the pipes. I do use a lot of other materials, bone, wood, a lot of wood, little bronze, whatever.
And you're a good painter. And all these paintings are little plein air paintings.
Well, they're not all plein air. Some of them
They're
are
not
from sketches and but yeah, they're kind of plein air. And
You are a very good painter.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. And that's the trick. I mean, the real challenge for me is taking those three separate elements, a sculptural element, an abstract element, and a representational element, and putting them together, shaking them together so that they work.
And not so superficial. I know you use that word, but you really kind of take the superficiality of, you don't want to kind of bring that. Or you, maybe I'm not saying it
I don't
right.
know. sure.
But
No,
you
that's, well, I
couldn't
can't, no, I couldn't stop there.
And that's the point, I think, of,
No, I really couldn't stop there. I mean, that is the problem with artists, is we can't just let it go. And I have fought for years with people who have said, why don't you just pop that little representational piece out, put it in a nice gold leaf plein air frame, and be happy. And I said, listen, I'm more about process. I need to be, it's the end product is just kind of that, what's left over for me. What's left is a documentation of the process that I've gone through.
it's really interesting, both of you have framed your pieces so uniquely.
But these really aren't framed.
Okay, talk about that.
Well, I mean, they're not framed. That the abstract element is just as important. It's not a decoration for the representation piece.
It's part of
It is part of the whole piece. So, excuse me.
No, that's
But they are framed. But, I came of age in the 60s. I couldn't afford frames, and so I had to find something that could do with it. My great goal in life was to sell a painting that, so I could afford the frame that it was in. I'll try to help you a little bit with what these are. My oldest son teaches schooling, teaches literature, and he talks about Moby Dick. And Herman Melville's Moby Dick is basically a three-piece thing like these paintings. It's a whole. But if you read Moby Dick, it's a great adventure story. It's also a lesson on how to process a whale, because every other chapter or so, they talk about how you cut it up, how they rendered this, and whatnot. And on a deeper level, it talks about manifest destiny in the New World. So my paintings are a three-piece kind of thing like that. And there's a representational piece that I hope, some people like that. And I really want them to get that. I really want people to get the craftsmanship, I don't know how to say it, of shaking these different elements together and making them whole. And then if some people get a deeper meaning, which I'll let them work on, that's fine. So I'm looking for three things in one. One of my personal heroes coming up, a good Texas person, Robert Rauschenberg, who did combines. So I guess I've kind of been influenced there by putting different things together.
Well, I think they're extremely well crafted.
Thank you.
Yes. How about, does anybody have a specific question for Billy or Rita?
I do.
Where are you?
I'm over here.
For Billy or Rita?
For Billy,
Okay.
particularly since I'm sitting right beside this painting right now.
Right.
Your titles are intriguing, and your titles are often as multi-layered as your work is. Like this particular one, Face and Free Will, the Deep Resonance of the Sea, and it's sea with two E's.
Yeah.
And so it's both cerebral and layered and punish. And
I can't help it.
do you do these titles like, do you walk around like, oh my gosh, I have to call this something? Or is that title working with you throughout the process?
Normally not throughout the process, because I'm going to tell another post. The materials drive themselves, So I'm not. Sometimes I know where I'm headed, but usually I do a better piece if I just if I honor the materials and let them take me where it's going. But there comes a point where I kind of see where it's heading, and I may start thinking about it. But one of my bad habits is reading, so I read poetry and I read, stuff.
I think that may be a typo.
It
I
could
believe
be.
it
It
should
was
be
the-
S-E-A.
That's my wife, Linda. She knows what's It's better. It's better.
She's quality control.
I can tell you side, and it is SEA.
It is
Yeah, it is.
SEA, okay, okay.
It would have been much better, it would have been much better as SEE.
I was reading it wrong, and I thought it was just, I loved it.
I used to worry about titles a little bit, but
There's a question.
yes.
Well, following up on that, I was lucky enough to be able to read the catalog, or that's what I would call it, kind of the narrative
Yeah.
that goes with this. So I would say there's an extra feature because, and I'm asking this, the descriptions inside the catalog, are they not in your own words in many cases? Is that, I mean, you're almost a poet in the way you've written that, but.
No, I really have to give credit to Nancy Kim, who wrote the essay in the catalog. She set me down and interviewed me, and made me sound a whole lot better. I normally just stumble on words and ramble around, so, but Nancy did a great job in writing it. I recommend you pick up the catalog wherever they are, just because.
They're in the back, I think on the desk, right over there.
Just to honor my wife who designed it and put it together, and Nancy, you wrote it, and John wrote a little.
They are beautiful. I think they're lovely to have with us, so thank you for doing that.
Linda, my wife, and I insist that I write little commentaries on things. We didn't do that for this show. And a lot of my other work, there always a commentary that goes with it, and I struggle with that. I mean, notoriously bad speller. I'm very spare with words. I like Hemingway. She likes Jane Eyre or something. I don't know. So I want to say, okay, this is yeah. Okay, now you got it or you don't. I don't. So normally I have a little bit. People say, no, you didn't really mean that. But they're close. Yeah, it's very close.
Other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed a lot when you said birds. Do you have a special feeling about birds?
I do have a little visual vocabulary that I've developed over the years. And going back to this painting, there's a body of work called Becoming Human, and it's the tension between Jungian, our reptilian brain and our higher thought kind of stuff. The reptilian brain, feed me, keep me warm, cool, whatever, and just the basic needs. And we're kind of stretched, the human being is kind of stretched between those two extremes. So the birds are about higher thought, self-actualization.
And are those turtles down on some?
Well, see, that turtle would have been the reptilian part. Okay? Yeah.
And there's always lines at the bottom.
That's kind of our spiritual journey in my little visual vocabulary. And I appreciate that question, but I would like for you to decide what it means for you, or if it means anything.
Well, I like birds, so
I like birds too.
Yes.
I love birds, thank you. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yes?
What's been the biggest impact on your creative development? What are they for both of you?
I'm going to think about this a second.
I was just thinking, I was glad I spoke before you. So what you were saying.
The biggest impact on
On your development?
On your creative development?
creative development.
Mine, I probably have two mentors in a way that gave me little tiny pieces of advice that were absolutely huge in impact. The first one was Sarah Eisto, who is an artist who was very popular in the 80s. She does still life, she does some animals, very intricate, lots of detail. But she was giving a business of art workshop in San Antonio about 3 or 4 years ago that I took. And she kept pounding into us the importance of doing the work. First you have to do the work. Before you can do anything else, first you have to do the work. Because a lot of people, artists who are starting off, they think big, I want to have a show, I want to be in this gallery, well, first you have to do the work. She also said work in a series. Pick something, pick a genre, pick a subject, pick a size or a shape, and work in that for, it's kind of, you the best 12 and make a calendar. Well, shortly after that workshop, I took a workshop with Carol Marie, who is a very, very well-known daily painter. She works in oil, small still life, mostly. She's branched out since, but took her workshop in San Antonio in 2011, and that really changed my whole career, because she told us all about the benefits of daily painting, painting daily, or painting as frequently as possible, and painting small. And this first book was my result of the first 100 paintings I did are in that book.
And these are on sale in the gift shop. These are for sale. This is the gift shop.
So the first 100 paintings I did after her workshop, the small ones that I posted on my blog. I also joined the Daily Painters blog. But those pieces of advice, work in a series and paint daily. Do those two things, and your career will just take off. For me, the posting of the artwork online, social media, kind of became primary for the painting, because it gave me a purpose for the painting. You know, I thought, oh, if I want to post something every day this month, I have to paint something so that I can post it. You know, I have to paint 7 paintings this week so that I can post them. And I actually didn't paint every day of the year or every day of the month until last year, when I took on another artist challenge. An artist named Leslie Sata has a blog, and she's really good with marketing advice. She has a challenge twice a year called 30 Paintings in 30 Days. And if you take it on, you can post on her site your paintings that month. And I did that last September, was her challenge, and I actually did post a painting every single day in September of 2014. And then I did it again in November, because it wasn't her challenge, but I just did it because I so enjoyed it in September that I wanted to do it again. So, to give you an idea of how difficult it is to actually paint every day, I started the attempt in 2011. And in 2014, I finally actually did it 2 months out of 1 year. But just the attempt, and actually painting as frequently as I was able to, and working in series, cows, I've had other little types of series, here and there. It becomes less about the actual subject matter that you're painting. When you paint something, paint the same type of thing over and over and over and over and over again, first of all, you become really familiar with that subject, so that there comes a point where you don't have to think about that subject anymore as you're painting it. You can think about other things, technique, or the light, or the materials you're using, or to experiment in different ways that are, regardless of what it is you're painting. So, like for me, this is not an exhibit of ranch animals. It's an exhibit of light on animals outdoors. Sunlight, shadow.
Well said. Because that is so right.
And for me, the process is not about the animals. The animals just happen to be the image that I'm doing to show off how I layer up the pastels over these primers that I use, and the texture that I have under there, and all that. But those 2 pieces of advice were pivotal for me. Paint daily and work in a series.
What about you, Billy?
I always say show up. I'm serious. I talk to people who aspire to do art, and they're waiting for inspiration or whatever. It's going to magically happen, and I say, no, you got to show up every day, which is kind of like it's different with yours, but showing up is important. creative process. Primary influence in the creative process. I came of age in the 60s. I was, my first art experiences were Remington Russell, a cartoonist named Lex Graham up in North Texas who did magazine illustrations. I mean, but coming of age in the 60s, I was exposed to the abstract expressionist pop art and that kind of stuff. And for some reason, there was a gallery in Dallas, a guy named, I was going to say Kelly Fearing, but that's not right. Can't remember the name. But we used to visit there, and I became aware of Texas artists, not New York artists. People like Roy Bridge, thank you, Shirley Blackman. Forrest Best, who's, I don't know, probably unknown to a lot of people, but really, it was, I mean, I come from a small town with no real art infrastructure, but seeing those Texas artists and knowing that you actually could make art, and it was more than a cartoon in the Sunday paper. So, and Robert Rauschenberg was one of those artists. Today, I'm really influenced by Donald Judd, which is, you know, I want to throw away all of this stuff and just, because I have my respect for media. Rita was really dead on when she was talking about it's not a cow, it's the paint or the pastel or whatever. So those people had real respect, I think, for the materials. And I think that was probably, actually the real truth is, I didn't have any choice. I was going to tell a fish story since this is Rockport. And the story is there's this fish keeps swimming upstream and he keeps bumping into this big concrete thing, you know, and he just keeps going and he keeps bumping into this big concrete thing. And the question is, what did the fish say? He said, damn. So I was raised out in the sticks. I learned to play with the materials at hand, you know, pieces of wood, crooked nails, and it was I think it formed the need to be creative in me, and I just really don't have any choice. So, does that answer the question?
Great answers, yeah.
Now it's time for everyone to enjoy refreshments and looking at the pieces and looking at them probably in a different manner since we've talked. So thank you, Billy. Questions. Those were great questions. So thank you guys.
Before we give up, I want to thank you and Taylor, and I want to thank Beverly.
Right down there.
Around there, and I want to recognize that my cousin and his wife from Wichita Falls drove down here, and I want to thank them for being here. And if there's other people that and I want to thank Rita because I love her stuff.
It's a wonderful show. The two of you together, really, it's beautiful.
I was aware of her Longhorns a long time ago. Thank you.
Enjoy.